Greetings, CFA candidates, and welcome to the ethics reading titled Application of the Code and Standards here for Level 3. At the beginning of the reading, CFA Institute outlines what they refer to as a framework to help navigate ethical decision-making and to apply the code and standards. Now, this ethical decision-making process does not apply to the following cases, but is instead meant as a framework for individuals in the investment management industry, such as CFA charter holders and members making decisions during their everyday activities. So let's go ahead and dive right in and take a look at this framework that outlines the decision-making process. So first up, we need to identify the material facts and issues. Next, we need to ask ourselves to whom are duties owned, and that could be our employer or our client. And what are the potential or actual conflicts of interest? And this is a big one here. So for example, do you own the stock you're recommending to a client? Or are you on the board of directors for a company? Those types of things. Next up, what ethical principles apply? And that's specifically referring to the code and standards here. Now we got to seek professional guidance as needed. So possibly you find yourself in a situation where you should seek legal guidance from your firm. Say you're in possession of material non-public information, or maybe someone at the firm is breaking a securities law and you're aware of it. Next up, we have our circumstances affecting your judgment. We have once again a conflict of interest here. And lastly, we want to identify possible actions. And of course, we want to review the results. So we're asking ourselves, what are the possible outcomes? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our first case study here. And we got the Sovereign Investment Company. Now, you might want to follow along with a notepad or something. We got a number of different names that we're going to go through. So to keep things straight, you might jot down a couple notes. I'm going to do my best also to keep us on task here. So first up, we have Victoria. She's the Chief Financial Officer of the Sovereign Investment Corporation. So that's our first fact. The objectives of the SIC are twofold. It's to develop the country's economy by financing local projects and attracting international investors. So that would be considered the mandate. So we need to keep that in mind as we go through this case. Now, the SIC controls an investment company called National Investments, which offers domestically listed stock to international investors in return for overseas finance. So when you're looking at things like this, you want to ask yourself, what are my key takeaways here? Well, first up, you need to know the role of Victoria. And she is the CFO of the Sovereign Investment Corporation, charged with developing the country's economy. So that would be a very important point. So she is the CFO. And then the SIC operates an investment company. And that's another key takeaway. So whenever you're looking at cases and analyzing cases on the CFA Level 3 exam, gotta look for those key points and things that can really make a difference in helping you make a determination of whether or not a violation exists. All right, with that in mind, let's move on to some more case facts. First up, we have a regional governor who is the leader of the main opposition party and is lobbying for a major investment in a mining project in a very remote area. Number two, the project will bring development benefits to the region and a positive return on investment, but it requires a significant capital investment. So once again, a little bit of background here between these two bullet points. The current government's Minister of Finance, though, prefers a smaller urban infrastructure project, which will create hundreds of new jobs for supporters of the government. So you can see